Guess who's back? Back, back, back again.
You're supposed to sing this in German.
Yeah,
Jason's back.
yeah,
Ah, tell
yeah.
a Freund.
What's that
Hey,
mean?
everybody, I'm back. Friend.
Are you speaking German on us again?
Yeah.
No, just one word.
What was that word?
Friend.
Friend. You know
Oh,
that too? You're like really picking up on the German, aren't you?
Oh,
believe it or not, while I was in Germany, um, I don't know, for like the first half, I was just like, yeah, whatever. I'm American. I speak English. But towards like the second half, I actually found myself like really wanting and trying to say more things in German because it's like, I mean, I'm 40 years old. I've been married to Nicole for a lot of years, 12, I think, 13 maybe. I lived there for 5, and I still speak barely enough German to get by.
They always
Kind of
say
sad.
when you're in the environment, you'll learn it whether you want to or not.
Yeah. Well, I always
Yeah.
feel like weird. And I'd say this is probably with anybody that goes to a foreign country. The assumption is that just about anywhere you can go in the world, you can get by speaking English, right? But I still get nervous at 40 years old. Like I don't want to go to like a German store without a German because I don't want to have to deal with going through the process of looking like a dumb American when I ask a question or they don't understand or whatever.
I feel like that when I go to Rhode Island. I can't order that Nagaranset beer. I can't say that word.
Narragansett.
That's my equivalent, North American equivalent. Give me one of those. Sedge, tell them what I want.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Oh, good times. Well, happy to be back. We'll talk more about that, I'm sure. Um, this is still going to be a May episode release. So we do have our wonderful giveaway supporter, Mr. Tyler over at Forge 3D, giving 2 more $100 gift cards to
Wow.
Forge 3D dot store.
Yes.
Yes. So that's exciting. Thanks, Tyler.
Thank you.
I think
Yeah.
one of the people from last month already ordered their stuff. I think oh, that's right. He asked me to bring that up on the podcast. So who are the 2 winners last month? It was
Um,
um
somebody and somebody else.
somebody and somebody else. That's right.
Two of my
Well,
favorites.
Forge 3D dot store. Okay. So he said, well, Jordan was one of them, Jordan Lance. He already
Oh,
claimed his
that's right.
prize.
Oh,
But the other winner, Mr. Jason Hagen, he has not heard anything from Jason Hagen. So, Jason Hagen, if you're listening to this, check your emails because I sent you a code. And if you want some stuff from Forge3D.store, you get a $100 gift card. So, check it out. And 2 more people are going to win it this month. And because I was unprepared, as always, because I'm a little rusty, I haven't been here for a couple of weeks. You guys have been pulling all the weight of the podcast on your own shoulders.
We're tired. We're so tired.
oh. At least we had Cameron last time.
That's right. New
It's
energy.
true.
New energy.
Um, okay, so Jen's Bodall, you guys read that individual
Yes.
last week. We kind of have a new patron, but we don't really have a new patron.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Does he not identify as a patron?
Mr. Joey Steelblade.
Yeah, Joey. I know him. He's a patron.
Well, he left being a patron and then he came back.
Oh,
He gave me some lame excuse like, oh, my Patreon is like connected to whatever. And I had to like start. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You just deleted it and I caught it and I asked a question and now you feel guilty. So thanks, Joey.
I think off the cuts providing some buy off incentives is what I've heard.
I've heard that too.
Paying off people's subscriptions to
Yeah.
walk. Yeah, which is
Yep.
dirty. It's
and
okay.
they're really struggling because they're trying to find some lame guest hosts.
Yeah, yeah, I've heard that too.
Yeah, which will be me on Wednesday nights.
Oh my
Lamos.
God, is he jumping ship on us, Ronnie?
They're watch him close. Watch him close. Don't let them
Well,
change you. Don't let
I
them
might
change.
have I might have to listen to it this time.
it won't change me because Eric, who is the poison of that podcast, will not be
Oh my
there.
God.
Matter of fact, I mean, I encourage everybody to listen to the next episode of Off the Cut because I'll be on it and we'll
So
probably actually talk about something worthwhile.
it's good. He'll probably
Like
go up.
woodworking?
Yeah,
I doubt
yeah.
it.
So
They don't
that's
really
it.
talk about woodworking.
So Eric's on his. Is he on his honeymoon right now? Is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yep.
Well, I'm glad you can fill in. I'll be sure to.
Well, they wanted me to do it tomorrow night because I guess they record on Tuesdays. And Leo's, this is so crazy. Leo's daycare graduation is tomorrow evening.
Oh, there's going to be tears.
His
Graduate
preschool
from daycare.
graduation. Yeah.
You should make him one of those things that goes around his neck, and like to make all the other parents feel like bad that they don't have one, and he does, and they'll be like,
Yeah.
"Why did he get one of those and the other kids don't?" And they're like, "You didn't get one of those."
It's such
Or
a momentous occasion. I might gift him a Rolex tomorrow after
you
he
should
graduates.
Give him
no,
some
just get
words.
him a Jeep. Get him a Jeep.
Yeah, get him a
I'll get
Jeep.
him a Jeep. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeep Wrangler.
Yeah,
Yeah,
put
be
a
like, yeah,
festival cord around his neck.
you
Fest-
can drive this in 11 years.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you should do that. That could be fun.
Unbelievable. Well, that's what I'll be doing tomorrow.
Fun. Is that the last day of school?
Well, yes and no. So like he still will go. That's the funny thing. There's graduations tomorrow, and he's still going to continue to go there until end of July because that's when he'll actually start kindergarten.
Oh, gotcha.
Which man, I am not looking forward to that. I have a feeling that's going to be a total cluster
Starts the roller
Why?
coaster.
Why?
because Leo doesn't handle like change all that well.
Oh.
And he's going to be going like literally none of the kids in his daycare, none of them, all of his friends, they're not going to the same elementary school.
Oh.
They're going to the one that's right next door. You know, when you come down to my house, Sedge, you pass
Yeah.
those two schools.
Yeah.
Well, those two schools are the ones like the zoning goes to those two. So they're identical schools basically, but one is for, these neighborhoods and this one's for these neighborhoods. All of his friends are going to the other one.
Oh man. What a drag.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
sucks.
Huh. So
So-
he's got a whole new group of friends. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, but I feel like that first week is going to be really tough, especially the first day.
Oh, hell yeah. Change is tough on kids.
For
Yeah.
sure.
You know, I didn't get used to it until I was 18.
They were like, "Get out."
Well, no. That's when I stopped wearing diapers.
You should send him with a Pika pencil for sure. That's all I
Oh,
can
yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the other kids are going to have those kind you sharpen with a sharpener. He's going to be like, "I got this."
Well, I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought Pika pencil up because speaking of Pika pencils, happy birthday, Mr. Sedgley.
Picking up Pika pencils.
Why,
Yeah,
thank
happy
you.
birthday.
Well,
Yes.
he gets his payout every year as a new Pika.
Uh-huh. I got a new Pika from the Green Suitors con.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Con.
Speaking of that,
Yes,
I think
We
we
got to
need
do some
to
reconnaissance.
I agree.
we definitely do. I'm gonna have to talk to Nicole because depending on when we go, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to swing going overnight just because I have a ridiculous amount of traveling coming up over the next 3 months, but maybe we can. We do need to go though.
Yeah, for sure.
We're not going to say on the podcast when we're going on the recon
No.
because we don't want it to turn into a big meetup,
It'll
even though it'd be fun.
It'd be a bigger turnout than the actual event. That'd be pretty bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. I'll let Dirk from Dayton know on the low before we come.
He can save us parking places and things like
Maybe,
that.
yeah, maybe Seth too.
God, I don't know. Well, people who are listening don't see me, but boy, people who are going to watch it on YouTube, I have yawned about 20 times since we started.
It's because
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
back.
No, it's because I took the day off for my birthday and I spent 6 hours in the between 6 and 7 hours in the shop today.
What
Ooh.
did you do?
Oh,
Tell us what you did in the shop for your birthday.
I played with my Shaper Origin.
Nice. Were you successful?
Period. The end. I had cut a bunch of stock, and during the build off, I had one of those aha moments where I wanted to start using grid. And I had a situation early on where I got really turned around on it. So I milled a bunch of stock, and you know how they did the through tenons, Ronnie? You
Yes.
know, they cut them and then bored them with a bit.
Mhm.
And I did that. I did about 20 tenants today. And so I had an outline for a video where I just added 3 pages of notes to it afterwards. And I just noted stuff afterwards. I sat there for about an hour afterwards and you know what? There was all kinds of things going on. The next door neighbor was getting a roof, and you know how evil they are next to me.
Yeah.
But what happened was also our dog walker came by, and we had Mary maids in, and there was a bunch of interruptions, but I didn't care because I just kept it was a nice breather here and there from wrapping my head around what I was doing. And boy, I got a lot of insight. I love going through something with somebody and going, okay, okay, I got it. And then watching the video or two and going, okay, I think I got it. But when I do it and I make a boatload of mistakes, I note them because I don't want people, and maybe I can give a little insight from my point of view. You know, the original Shaper video was old dog, new tricks. And that's how I kind of look at it. And the guys, and last week, just working with Russ, well, 2 weeks ago, wasn't it? Yeah, 2 weeks ago. Russ and Jake, those guys are just so cool, you know?
Mm-hmm.
No, there's
So it was, so I just, I work with Shaper all day, and now I got a 3-day weekend coming up again, Memorial Day weekend, and I'm going to spend all 3 days in the shop. Chris is going away for the weekend, so we're not going to shoot any video. But there's a couple other things I want to work with. I just got plate and trace and caliper. So, hey, there he is. There's my main man. God, he's growing up quick.
yes.
Yeah, he's getting. Let me grab him. I know.
Oh my God,
I
he's
heard him
big.
coming.
Look, hi.
Hey,
I got both of the boys
Oh,
coming.
there they
oh,
are.
another one.
Hi, guys.
Big kindergartner in the house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Max. Leo, can you take Max with you, please? Oh man.
That's awesome.
Sorry.
So, and also, I've been messing around with. I just got some really. I thought it was expensive hinges for a gate hardware because Marianne's been using that gate between the shed and the house for the dogs. You know that little space I got between there.
You have
So
a you
I
have a little
wanted.
gate there?
Yeah, well, she puts it up when the dogs are going nuts, but I'm going to be putting a gate now, and I'm going to make one. She goes, "Oh, that's really cool hardware," because I did a mock up of it,
Mhm.
and she goes, "So you're going to get She was so cute. She goes, "So you're going to go get an iron gate made?" And I looked at her, I went, "No, I'm going to make one." She goes, "Oh, you're going to make one?" And I was like, "Yeah, honey, that's what I do." It was just so cute the way she said it. So it was. So I'm going to have fun doing that, making a quick gate. So
Speaking of making a quick gate, is the bench area in the window, is that done?
I just have to finish the top.
Oh, you just have to put finish on it?
Yep, that's it.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty much
Totally
finished. I,
forgot
you know,
about
I
that.
I touched up the walls last week, and I'll throw a coat of uh, uh, I use Sherwin-Williams Emerald on the front. I use Dover White for all my trim,
Yeah.
so I'll throw that on there. But I'm done basically. Everybody's been using it. The dogs have been slobbering all over the cherry, so it's kind of neat.
Nice. Better get some finish
Yeah.
on there so their slobber doesn't destroy it.
So I also got a really cool lost art poster in the background, courtesy of Ronnie Fulton. Thank you very much. I'm going to make a frame for that.
I figured that. I saw that at Lost Art Press, and I told Cameron, I said Sedge would love this. It's that
Yeah.
that tool cabinet.
H.O. Studley tool cabinet. So I want to buy the book too. It's supposed to be really cool that they shot.
I looked at the book, I had it picked up, and I put it down and picked up these 3 other little small ones, and I forgot about the other one. I had it though. So I was
Yeah.
looking through it. The way I look at books, I have to have pictures, just like menus. I like to have pictures of my food, but I flip through first and I have to see a decent amount of pictures. If I don't, I put it back down. I don't want too many words. And that book had a lot of pictures, so I liked it.
Cool.
I like picture books.
Ronnie, is my poster or gift in the mail? Did it get lost? Did you ship it yet?
It was sent by UP FedEx. It's like it's a new company. It's like a
Yeah.
operation between both of them. No, I gave Sedge mine because I knew that I told Cam, I see his office and I just know he would want it. I told Cameron, I was like, it's Sedge. I don't think
It's
you would
totally
like
cool.
it as much as he did.
Oh, how do you know? I guess we'll never know, Ronnie. I guess
Well,
we'll never know.
Ronnie, you got to word it like this. Those in the poster are all hand tools. There's no boards attached.
That's a good point.
Oh,
I didn't know he'd appreciate it. I told Cameron, I was like, I'm saving this for Sedge. Like, so I just, you'll get your own surprise. And then Sedge won't get it. And I'll be like, now, Sedge, don't get mad because you got the poster. That's the way it'll work.
He's going to give you a Rolex.
Yeah, that's it. And I'll be like,
I get
Sedge,
the poster. You get the Rolex.
He'll be
Thank
like,
you.
Sedge, you said you didn't like watches. So there you go.
it's
Yeah.
awfully nice of you.
Yeah.
That's really nice, Ron.
It's really nice.
Yeah, it's coming. It's coming. Maybe on our 700th episode of Green Suits and our
I think
our
I
ninth
think we all should make a hidey hole.
for
Oh yeah, the last episode when you guys were talking,
That was
I was
so
listening
cool.
to that.
oh yes, yes. Yeah, that's always a good project.
Ronnie,
It's go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, you've been up to anything in particular?
I was getting ready to say it's funny we were talking about that, and Kelly's getting ready to go on a trip on like June.
Ooh,
And I started going down a rabbit hole last night because there's some projects that
man cave.
there's different projects that we almost never will get to because it's just too logistically hard. And one of them, I started thinking about it. I was like, get out of your head. You don't need to do this. You don't need to do this. Started thinking about sanding down our floors in our main area of our house, that to be our foyer, family room, kitchen, dining room. It's like that whole area, and doing Rubio. I would love to do that. And it'd be perfect while she was gone because I have Cameron. We'd be able to put all the furniture in the garage, get it out of there, and just knock it out. And I kept thinking, why do you do this to yourself? No, don't just get it out of your head. But I love it when she comes back and she's like, how on earth did you get all this done? And I know I could do it, but I'm like, do I want to do that? This is as of last night. So I don't know. She's going on 2 trips in June. If I do, I want to talk to Alan with Rubio first because I want to get his insight on, I know for sure when my house was built, I still remember it was provincial Minwax is what they stained the oak with. I know I can cut through the poly, but how hard is it to sand it and all that kind of stuff? I just want to find out because I would love just put some Rubio on there, have that finish on there, that sheen, and just be done with it. But that's in the background. I don't know why I do this to myself. I have plenty to do, but it'd be so fun.
Do it.
So that was last night, popped in my head. I feel pretty safe about Kelly not listening to the podcast. I don't think she'll hear this. I feel pretty safe about it. Oh,
Well, she actually told me she listens to every single episode.
Yeah.
sometimes she does. Sometimes she catches up and she'll say something. And I'm like, oh, you listen to it? So she does sometimes, but that's what I'm thinking.
It's a good thing you save all the bad things you say about her for when we're not recording.
Exactly. We don't.
Or you notice he says that now when he's not in the house, he's in his shop.
Yeah. So now that I have my awesome high-speed fiber internet connection, I can do anything I want. I feel like it's a whole new level. And I have cameras. I have the WYZE, the WYZE. How do you say? I'm on camera number 3 now. and I'm loving them. I've got one that opens my garage door and records, and I have two more motion ones. I'm installing some others, and they've been so handy. Like it's been great. It's even been handy when Cameron comes out here. I know if he's out here or not, and you can set all kinds of rules, notifications, all kinds of things. So I've been playing around with those too. Very nice.
I really like the Wise cameras, and Patrick is the one that turned me on to those. And because they're very inexpensive and they are really good quality video. However, the more I buy, the more I'm starting to notice that maybe the quality control isn't as great, because I like before we went to Germany, I bought two of these like newer version outdoor ones that use like a much bigger battery, and charged both of the batteries completely full, installed them where I wanted them. One of them still has like 60% battery life. And again, I installed these before we went to Germany. The other one died halfway through our trip to Germany.
Really? So the battery wasn't quite as good.
No, like not even freaking close. And then I have the same issue on a couple other outdoor ones on one of the older versions. One of them, the battery lasts like it should. The other one, it like had a hole in it or something, and like water got inside the camera, and it just, yeah, I don't know.
They're
It's disappointing.
so I mean, they're like, I got two of them for like 25 each.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, wow. I mean, my Arlo camera is worth like $300 for three of them, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
We have at the house. So and the difference in the quality of the video is not really even noticeable. It is so clear. So I'm glad you told me about it, because it allows me to have like, I'll probably have like 8 or 9. I did the unlimited thing with the DVR, and it's just nice to have all of the, everything saved and just know what's going on out here when I'm not here. So I like it. It's been good.
I have 4 Allo cameras, and I just hooked up solar panels on all 4.
I want to do that because that's
It's worth, I think they're like $42 for a solar panel. And it is and I started doing the math, and I calculated, okay, I'm up there once a month, all 4. Then I got to charge them. Then I got to put them back up.
Takes forever.
Put the ladders away. And I go, it is so worth it. I haven't been up changing them in 3 months.
That's good. Yeah, I need to do that for the home ones. I actually thought about changing out to the other ones, but I've already invested. Those are maybe like 2 or 3 years old.
Wise has a solar option as well. My question is though, Sedge, like, do the solar panels connect to the camera, or is it another thing that you have to hook up next to it?
Right to the back port.
It hooks, there's a cord that goes from the solar panel to each camera.
But I'm saying you have to mount the solar power next to the camera.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and it's so easy.
Yeah.
It just hooks up. It's effortless, and it's wonderful.
I will also say that I'm so excited about coming from the tech industry for so long and all these things. I'm from a school of thought that you devote an entire afternoon to setting up a camera system. And so like I take them out of the box. I'm like, okay, I got a few hours. I'm gonna get these set up. You know, you push the button and it's like, okay, we see it. Which Wi-Fi network? This one. Okay. And it's set up and you're done. And I was like, what? I'm done.
I know. Yeah, I know.
Like,
Isn't that cool?
I'm like, no, this is supposed to take longer. This is supposed to be harder. I mean, I think 2 cameras, I had like 10 minutes in it and they were done already on the phone. It was like, do you want to do the plan, the DVR plan, whatever? And I was like, wow, sometimes when things work, it's just nice. And I think part of it is Apple technology and not Windows based. I think I'm still so used to Windows based things that just don't work. No driver, doesn't have this, doesn't have that.
Mm-hmm.
Works. And the app store, it was just flawless. So I've been excited about having that out here. Other than that, I've just been getting ready for Cameron's last day of school is Friday. And he is getting out half days on Wednesday through Friday. And tomorrow he's off because we have election day tomorrow. It's like primaries election.
Oh.
So we're going to go vote first thing in the morning. I get him all day. And I'm playing the game right now of looking at the weather. It looks like Wednesday and Thursday is going to be a rainy, awful day. Tomorrow's going to be nice. So I'm taking all of what we have to do and trying to feel like a school teacher. I worked on the van a little bit today, getting ready for him. So it's
when's the last time you worked on the boat?
Oh, we both had a, what's it called? Like just about how much we suck. We talked to each other about it. We were like, we really suck. So we were talking about how little we have to do to flip it, and we don't know why we're stuck. And we're like, we just have to do it. And this was like 2 or 3 days ago. And so we have a plan, and we're getting ready to do our final coat and sand, and we're going to fit that in this week so we can get back on track. But we just took
Cool.
a break on it. We took a break. Maybe we needed to. I don't know. He had proms on the weekends, just something. He's got that makers thing he's working on right now. But it's one of those things where you almost allocate time to it. You can go crazy on it. But if you start giving yourself leeway, like it doesn't have to be done. There's no target date. That's when it sits, and that's
Oh,
when
yeah.
no progress is being made. But I'm so excited to see it flipped over, and I just need to remember that, and that's going to get me going. Once it
Yep.
flips over, I am ready to go crazy on it. But I will still call it drywall phase. We are in drywall phase. I do not like drywall phase.
Nobody likes drywall phase.
I need to mix up one more thing of epoxy with the microfiller, micro balloons in there where I can give it a nice sand, and then on that high build primer on top of that, sand it, and then put the top coat on the bottom and top. Once we do that, we'll be ready to flip it. It's not a big deal. I don't know why. I guess I've just been distracted. So
You had so much other stuff going
Yeah,
on,
we
man.
have.
Life gets in the way, you know?
we've had a lot of things to work on, and spring is busy time. But currently right now, I made a list today. I have 8 service calls on like power screen related things from storms and people wanting things like different than what the way that it is. And I have 2 deck ceiling jobs, 2 new screen jobs. All of those came in last week. I unloaded trailers. All the product came in 2 days, and I ordered them for a span of 5 weeks, and they all came in on the same day. So you try to do the leveling thing, the Toyota principle of leveling. You want to kind of like, but product always comes in at the same time. They combine the shipment. So Cameron helped me this weekend unload and unbox and all the materials and go through it. And I'm sitting there figuring out how I can get all this done. So we definitely have our spring rush coming.
So, but starting Friday, I mean, he'll be with you for a couple of months.
Yes. And then after that, he's half days when he goes back to school next year. So that after Friday, my life will be changed forever.
Wow.
So that's going to be good. And he's already negotiated that he's going to get out of school half days Wednesday through Friday also, because all they're doing is watching movies in school right now. Because now they have the testing. And once they have the testing, which was like a week or 2 ago, teachers are done after testing.
Yep.
They just do nothing. So that's where he is right now. And
why even go in?
I know.
I know. They still count attendance, and that's where a lot of his friends are checking out. And we let him check out one day early last week. We're tomorrow election, and then after that, he's going to be off half days, and we're going to try to knock a lot of this out. But it's funny, just a game of looking at the weather and getting the to-do list and where they are and like figuring out all that logistical stuff. That's not my favorite thing to do, but
no,
checking off boxes I do like.
Yeah.
So I draw little boxes next to them so I can check them off.
I do too.
Yeah.
I love the
planning is everything, man.
Yeah. I did one this morning. I drew a box and did a check at the same time, just where I could see one check mark.
Yeah.
I just did it. I'm like,
that's how I started my day when I sit at the computer. It's like, do my list, and I always put something I know I've already done just so I can put an X in it.
It made me feel better. Yeah.
I put my legs on the floor. There's one.
Yeah.
Keep breathing. There's 2. Take a whiz. There's 3.
Man, you're so productive, like in your first 3 minutes awake in the morning.
Dude, I'm basically done for the day.
Yeah. And then everybody's getting up 4 hours later.
Yes, sir.
After he wakes up at 4.
Yeah.
Dave Embry wished me a happy birthday today at 5:00. He knew I was up.
Yeah, you're up. That's good.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
I didn't get a happy birthday from Dave when it was my birthday. Geez, thanks, Dave. We know who your favorite is.
So, Ronnie, you want to hear something really funny? I don't mean to interrupt everybody, but this weekend I was standing on the back of my Glad. On the tailgate, I was taking a break and I was doing yard work, and I'm just standing there, and all of a sudden this guy comes out from a house catty corner, and I know who lives there. It's a lady and her, I guess, partner. This guy starts walking across the street. I go, oh, he's walking across the street toward me to walk, on the other side, on my side. As he's crossing the sidewalk, he goes, "Hey, you're Sedge, aren't you?"
Oh, he knew you
He
were.
goes, "I saw your shed video." And he goes, "When you were bringing it off the truck, I looked across and I said, that's my daughter's Wrangler." And he goes, "I had been watching your video." So I shot the shit with him for about 45 minutes, an hour. What a cool guy. But it was really bizarre. And he kept saying, "I just got to tell you, I'm not a stalker."
See, guys are more hesitant than the
Yeah, they
female
are.
thing. They're, they don't even want you to know. And they're like, they think you're weird if they even acknowledge it. It's kind of funny.
It was kind of
Well,
cool.
we went to lunch yesterday, or a late lunch, early dinner, and Sedge told us that story. And I noticed this guy sitting at a table like next to ours. He kept looking back, like real awkwardly, like looking back, and he was looking at Sedge, and I'm like, why does this guy keep turning around? And then finally he stood up, and I was watching him, and as he stood up, and he was like walking over, like debating on whether or not he was going to say something. And then this guy was like, "Oh, Sedge, I wanted to come introduce myself. I'm such and such. One that works for Jeff Mack or something."
Yeah.
It's cool.
And he was visiting his mom in a nursing home down in Noblesville, and we were at Ale Emporium, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I know Jeff. He's a good buddy." So he's the one who told me to get into social media in 2017.
I think what's good to keep in mind, and it's kind of, this is solidifying with me right now with what you are saying, is when you have that awkward feeling that someone's staring, it's almost like just go ahead and start waving and calling them out. Because Cameron and I were eating lunch about a week ago, and there was this guy, a country boy, and he was looking, and I even brought my phone up because we're sitting next to each other, and I typed in my notepad. I said, that guy sitting over there in the corner is staring at us. He will not stop staring at us. And Cameron looked at my phone, and he looks up, and he starts, casually, and he's like, he shook his head like, yeah, this guy is. Never said a word. Then we
Oh,
got up to leave, and he stopped me. He goes, hey, he goes, I see you guys around town. He's like, my dad's a builder. He's like, do you ever do like trim carpentry, whole houses? And he's like, I've seen your stuff on, online. He's like, so we talked to him for probably 30 minutes. Like you said, Sedge, it turns in, but he just didn't want to say anything when we were sitting there. But I guess I didn't even think about the possibility that I just thought he was staring at us, and I found it kind of, didn't know. But
yeah.
I guess
Some people don't want to interrupt you because it's your personal time, but I tell people just say hi. It's cool. And then this guy across the street goes, "Yeah," he goes, "I watch you. I watch that guy in Portland, Oregon." I go, "Oh yeah, yeah." Bourbon Moss. He goes, "Yeah, yeah, that's him." He goes, "And that other guy, I think he's around here too. His name is," I go, "Jason
around
Beck."
here too. He's
And he
around
goes,
here.
"I love his stuff."
You say, I don't know him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't know him. He's
I go,
kind of
"I
an
don't
a-hole.
who is he?"
You're like,
It was
no, there's
cool
not enough
though.
room. There's not
It
enough
was
room for
just
both of us.
it's just sometimes it's I don't know. It's just I was standing there on the back of the Jeep, just contemplating because I was taking a break, and this guy just starts walking over. It's just really weird. It's just such a nice guy, though.
That's
He's
cool.
from Bloomington, and he's a woodworker, and he's been doing a lot of work over the years on his daughter's house. And he goes, "But I'm always there like Sunday nights," and I go, "Oh, okay. I'm glad you stopped by."
Awesome.
So, Jason, what have you been up to?
It's not like you went out of the country or anything.
Yes, vacationer.
So we don't have to talk like a lot about Germany. It was great. Anybody that watched my stories saw the wonderful food and beer that I got to drink. It was just like any other time ago. Great time with family. Weather wasn't as good this time as it was last year, but it was about 50-50. So still, phenomenal. Got to go on the walks that I love to go on. It was great. I want to talk about one thing in particular that kind of like really made the trip this time. And it has to do with my brother-in-law, Stefan. So Stefan is my wife's sister right beneath her. So her first youngest sister. And then she has the youngest, and then she has an older sister. So there's 4 girls. Well, for some reason this time I just feel like him and I Like we were at their house barbecuing like almost every day while we were there. Like we were around each other constantly for 3 weeks. Um, and he likes to build stuff and he likes to do remodeling and stuff on the house, but he just doesn't have like hardly any tools. I mean, you want to talk about somebody with like the bare minimum and I'll find a way to do it with what I have. Like he's that guy. And so one of the things that they were doing, they just knocked out a wall inside of the house to open up the living room and the kitchen. Looks great. They did a great job. They put new flooring down and they made this kitchen island and they bought like, some pre-made like IKEA tops, but it was two tops that were too thin or not too narrow, excuse me. So the two tops had to be joined. And here I am going like, God, I wish I lived here because if I had all my tools, we could do this in like 5 minutes. It would come out perfect. It would be flawless. We could, touch up the lines, make it a nice straight cut because, like there's chip out on the cuts from when they cut them at the factory or cut them to size at IKEA or whatever they do. And I'm just like, God, I'm here sitting there thinking like, man, I have everything that we would need to make this thing perfect. And then I started having all these ideas. I'm like, it'd be really cool is if you did like a miter, like waterfall, like get a couple more of these. And then we could like do it to where it comes down the side and then it hangs over on the other end. So you could put like bar stools and that wouldn't be very expensive. And of course, again, it just comes down to like, they don't really have the stuff to do it. So the way that he was asking, like, how do I put these together? And I was like, well, they do make these countertop bolts that you can put underneath, but you have to route out a recess for these things. And I can't even remember what they're called. You guys know what I'm talking about though, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I do. There's
like
a bunch of different ones. They look like dog. I call them dog bones.
Yeah. So I'm like, that would work. They're like 1.5 to 2 inch thick particle board tops with like a laminate on top of it, whatever. And I was like, that would probably work. It'd probably be your best bet. And then I said, and personally, especially since you're not using dominoes or anything, like I would actually use like a silicone or something, like a clear silicone to bring these things together to stop water from getting down in and penetrating it and hurting it. So he's like, oh yeah, we'll do that. So he's like, how would you get the hole basically for this bolt? And I'm like, oh, a router, thinking he has a trim router. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have a router, doesn't have anything. He uses like a dull chisel and like chisels out by hand, like these rough things. And we were sitting at the house and he was like, yeah, I got to go deeper because the bolts are still protruding out. While he was saying that, I got on Amazon immediately and I ordered him a router. And it wasn't a very expensive one. It was a German brand. And I got him like a starter bit set. And it comes with like, round over, 2 flute, straight bit, pattern bits, that kind of stuff, chamfer. And had it delivered like the next day or the day after. And I was over there when he opened it. He was like, what did you have sent here? And I was like, I don't know. You should go check it out. And he opens it up. And like, I could just tell how happy he was, right? That it was $100. I spent $100 and I got him a router and a nice little set of bits. And he was so excited about it because he's like that one tool will open up so many possibilities for him. So many possibilities. And I went over the next day, the very next morning, and showed him how to use it, showed him, how to set the depth, how you'd go about doing that, how to hold it. And then we cleaned out that area and it was like a million times better. And he was so excited about it and he did the rest of them and he did great.
It's awesome. I've never thought about Amazon outside of the US. I never have.
It's
So you
very
just
big in Germany now.
You just brought up your Amazon account and just put that address in there and no problem at all. Amazon was like, cool.
Yep.
Is it the way?
Well, I mean, we order a lot of stuff, and so does her family. Like they're all listed on our Amazon, like their addresses, where you can select addresses. I mean, we have our address list is like 20 25 people, and we just select as necessary. But yeah, you can get everything. Amazon, I don't think they have as many options for like the order it this morning and it's here this afternoon type thing. But Amazon is becoming very, very, very popular there. Very popular.
Everything we can get there, you can get there. Everything we get here, that you can get there.
No.
No.
It's essentially Amazon, but it would be German products.
Oh, okay.
So they have warehouse. They have their same business model over there.
Right.
Using the
So
same
like I couldn't get I wouldn't have been able to get certain routers from the States there on Amazon. I had to go with a brand, that I didn't know anything about it. I just looked at reviews. I found one that had like 5,000 reviews. It was like 4.5 stars. I was like, this is inexpensive. It just made me feel good to like be able to be, and again, this was $100. Like this was not a big expense, right? But that's $100 that he probably would not have spent on it. And I mean, we didn't spend like any money while we were in Germany, right? Except when we went to the park, like we paid for everybody. Whenever we'd go to events with all the kids and stuff, we would just pay the admission for everybody because like we're not spending any money. We don't have any expenses over there. So to be able to do that, I could tell when he opened it how grateful he was for that. And that is what really stuck with me for this whole trip, I would say.
It's cool. Now he can buy a bunch of new, like different types of bits, and it can make him be able to do all kinds of things.
Well, it was funny that like every time I go there, because I know all her whole family, they all have projects and stuff they want to do. And I just posted this on my Patreon yesterday. I was like, does anybody else have a hard time with relaxing? Right? Like I do not do well on the weekends. I don't do well with idle time. Like I have to be doing something or else I feel like I am wasting an opportunity. And that's kind of how I feel when I'm in Germany. And so, I mean, if I was going over to their house or a family member's house like every day and helping them with the project, I'd be super happy because it's a lot better than just sitting around. You know what I mean? And like, oh, you're here to relax, all that stuff. It's like, yeah, I don't. Relaxing to me is like doing something productive. That's relaxing for me.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. I mean, I took a day off. I spent the entire day in my shop. For me, that was, I got something off of my list I've been wanting to do for 6 months. And I feel like $1,000,000 right now. I feel energized. And I did not think about work all day, my day job. And when you're really concentrating on something in the shop, I was like, oh wow, it's 12 noon already. Then all of a sudden you look at oh my God, it's 2:00 already. Oh, it's 3. Because you're so into that learning mode and trying to figure something out for your brain. It may be easy for people, but I had to do it myself. And that to me, when I could take that time and it disappears because I'm learning something new. I just love that.
Yeah.
I feel like I am on top of the world right now, sense of accomplishment. And that's not bad because and it's on my birthday. I turned 33 today,
Yeah.
So
That's
awesome. Second anniversary of 33.
Yes.
Well, no, it's a lot more than the second anniversary.
Hey.
It's like, hey
now.
So go ahead, Ronnie.
I was just going to say, my first router was not very, and it's funny, it was a Bosch router, but it was very cheap. It was like a Lowe's version Bosch router, and I did not like it at all. Like it was terrible. It wasn't accurate, and it made me not like routers. And then I ended up getting the Bosch Colt after that. And it's funny that the Bosch Colt is a lot better router than the full size at the time. We're talking like 20 some years ago. And that I trusted it. And when you trust the router and you trust what it can do, it opens up this massive, all of a sudden you're like, oh, okay, I can use a router for this. I can use a router for this. Right. And it was a game changer for me. So I think that was a very smart tool, but he doesn't realize what you did for him because you're sending him down a rabbit hole.
Oh yeah.
It's got more things are going to come from this. He's going to be like, this router improved my game so much. What if I got this? What if I got this?
Yeah.
That's how it starts.
The router is the most versatile tool in the shop. Mine, I'll never forget. I bought it from International Tool when they were down on in Hollywood, just off of the Circle. I think it was Tyler Street. And I'll never forget. I went in and it's just a hole in the wall. And it was really cool because I bought a Porta Cable 690. I was so excited. I ran out of the shop, you know. I got back to my shop and I went, oh wow, I need a router bit. So I went back down there, and Dean Barnett at the time said, yeah, I knew you'd be back. And guess what it was? It was a 3/8 round over.
I was going to ask you what it was.
And that night, a 1/2 inch shank. And that night, I ran that profile on there, and it was a simple round over. But I remember it like it was yesterday. And that was the slippery slope.
Yeah. It was so rewarding the first time you do it. Yeah.
Yes, and you go the wrong way the first time. You go, holy shit!
I went the wrong way the first time. I was like, whoa, this is hard. And then I figured it out. I learned it on the streets. There weren't things to tell you how to do it, and I learned that it's better to go this way.
Oh my God! And you want to know something? And every time I show somebody a router, I knew I was opening up an experience for them that they will have for the rest of their life, because that router is the most versatile tool in the shop. But when people would complain back then, that 690 router was $139. I'll never forget it. But I would laugh at people when they would complain about $139 Porta Cable 690. And I go, dude, come over here and look at these router bits. And you bring them over to the cabin and they go, oh. Because guess what? I never skimped. Personally, I never skimped on quality router bits.
Yeah, I learned that quickly too. That's another thing. You can go buy a nice router, then you buy cheap router bits, and you're like, but you go buy nice ones. There's a difference.
Yep. And it's a learning curve. A lot of people would buy something and think, oh, I just got to go like this and run it. It's like a hand plane. You could buy a $450 Lee Nielsen, but if you don't know how to tune it, sharpen it, hone it, sharpen it, and fine tune it, people's experiences are, they just toss it aside. So there's a lot to buying a quality tool, but giving you the patience, give yourself the patience to learn it properly.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of YouTube now. There's so many people out there that are willing to impart their knowledge on you, so you do have that good first time experience.
Yeah.
So. Sure.
Well, Ronnie, that's like your domino story. Like, I hate the domino. This tool sucks. And then
didn't work out for me. I remember that selling Sedge. Sedge's like, you got one? I was like, I don't use it. He's like, why not? And this was early on, like really early on. And he was like, show me how you're using it. And I'm thinking, okay, what's he going to be able to do? He's not with my machine. He doesn't know what I'm doing. He was like, I see what you're doing. He goes, go back to your shop and do it this way. And he was right. It's sometimes and that's the same as like sports and anything else, like golf, especially, one little thing can change the outcome. It's not the tool or the golf club or the tennis racket. It's the operator a lot of times. And now it's what I was doing. I was muscling into it.
It's not true.
Like, I'm going to make some mortises right here. I was going to
So it's so not true. If you have good, expensive tools, you're going to be good. Period.
Well, I went through a phase where I thought that, and there's no difference in that, like, say you go out and buy like a Bugatti, $2 million car. If you don't know how to drive, you're going to crash it. You've got to know how to drive or use these tools, or you will think they suck because you don't know how to use them.
Just like buying a Rolex. If you don't know how to read time, then it sucks.
So true.
No, it's still awesome.
Every time I look at it, the dials are in a different place. It drives me crazy.
Yeah, it's broken. I think we've discussed this before. Like, if you have a bad experience with the tool, it can ruin the tool for you and then give you a bad taste until you learn it. The first time I used the Lamello, the Zeta P2, I was like, I'm not even keeping this thing. This is dumb. Like, what a waste of money. I don't see myself using it. Now it's like, if I can use the Lamello, I'm using it, because it has so many cool uses and it just makes things really good. But the first time I tried it, I was like, no, I don't like this. But something I wanted to talk about, because something that I did today is I finally got all of my sheet goods cut for all the parts for the coat closet built-in thing that I bought all the materials for in December, and I'm just now
Nice.
finally getting back to it.
Had to
Nice.
acclimate. Had to acclimate.
Had to acclimate, yeah. So probably
You don't want
acclimated
that.
a little bit too long.
You don't want that Baltic birch moving on you.
No, you
No.
don't. Stable.
So Sean Lund he's gonna get a kick out of this next thing. You guys remember on the last bourbon with the boys, and we were talking about the saw and dialing it in, and he made the comment of like, it seems like you're, if you love this thing so much, but like you're constantly adjusting it and all this stuff. And I was like, well, to be fair, like I was adjusting it because I had gone to Felder and learned how to adjust everything. So I was getting like nerdy with it. And here's what I would like to tell everybody that's listening out there. I've said this before. I do not like chasing. I do not like chasing like absolute perfection. I don't like using dial indicators. I don't like doing all that stuff. If there's a problem, fix it. If there's not, don't worry about it. Move on. Well, I'm here to tell everybody that when you have something good that is within the acceptable limits of what you want, stop messing with it, because that's what I did. So when I had my table saw up against the wall before I went to Felder, everything was great. I was getting awesome accuracy, very little setup. My sliding table was still too high. Came back. I was like, I'm going to move my table saw. I'm going to turn it. I moved it. And then I started breaking out the wrenches and dialing in the slider. And then, I'd get that done. And then it was like, okay, I'm going to check the blade, and then I'm going to check the slider to the blade. And then I'm going to check the fence to the blade. And then I'm going to check all these different things. And here's what I've learned on a sliding table saw, because there's so many moving pieces. When you adjust one thing, you've got to go back and adjust everything else. And if you get one thing that's out of whack, now it's the other thing that's out of whack. And here's the other crazy part, is that if you're trying to account for like toe out using the regular fence with the blade like you would a traditional table saw, means your fence is going to toe out a little bit. But what if I'm using that fence in conjunction with my slider, which the slider also has a slight toe out to the left of the blade. So now I have two opposing ones, and it causes issues on long rips and all these things I wasn't thinking about. So when I was cutting last time, before we went to Germany, remember when I smashed my fingers?
Yep.
I was having an issue because the last time I had adjusted everything, I adjusted the slider, got the slider exactly where I want it. And I adjusted the fence. Well, what I didn't do is the fence on the slider. I didn't adjust the fence on the table saw. So I was having these issues when I was cutting stuff. The cuts weren't coming out parallel, and it was really driving me nuts. And I went out there the other day, and I like continued to tweak everything. And here's what I'm starting to realize is like you end up chasing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be very difficult, because as soon as you get it where it needs to be and then you go to tighten everything back down, guess what happens? It moves.
Yeah.
Right. So I've gotten to a point now, like I was having problems today. I thought I would have gotten everything cut down today. I thought I would have everything sanded on one side, the side that I'm going to apply finish on, because the way I'm doing this built-in this time is before I actually assemble the carcasses, I'm going to finish the interior portion of the cabinets with whatever clear coat I'm going to use.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to assemble them, right? Because like, why try to worry about getting the gun inside?
Mm-hmm.
And everything is just easier to finish when it's flat. So I was cutting stuff and I'm like, why is this not working out? Like I got so aggravated today because I took what was already great and I tried to get too cute with it. And now I'm just constantly like fighting to get back to where I was. And I have it now. I'm pretty sure that now it's good to go. but I had to stop what I was doing like 4 times today and adjust this and adjust this. I mean, I took my fence rail off completely the other day, reinstalled it, tried to get all the alignment done. I basically am working where I don't really have toe out at this point anymore because I want to be able to use the two things in conjunction. I found like cuts would be a good if you were just using the slider versus if I was just using the fence. But if I was using the slider and referencing the regular table saw fence, it was giving me problems. So I'm like, what is going on? And it was so frustrating. I will not lie. I was so frustrated. I almost got on the phone with Felder and was like, yeah, I need your guys' help because this is driving me crazy. But by the end of the day, I got everything good. There's one piece that it just would not like. It would be so frustrating because I'd make one cut and I would like, this is how bad it was. I was making a cut and I was measuring. Did this come out to be 680 millimeters?
Yeah, it's not good when you're not be able to trust it.
No.
Yeah, that sucks. It
And
really does when you can't trust what you're, for square. Oh,
it was
I hate
it was
that.
so frustrating because I was like, okay, this one, perfect. And then I would go get the next one and I'd put it on there and I'd be watching. And as I'm pushing it through, I can see like the board like coming away from the stop. Like the blade was so I think what it is, I'm having a problem with my riving knife. My riving knife, and I discovered this finally at the end of the day, my riving knife is not in perfect alignment with the blade.
So it's pulling it away.
It's kind of like this almost. Like if I look at it directly from the top, it's canted a little bit. And I think what is happening is that the boards are going through, and when that's where it binds up and it gets tight. And what it was doing is when I was pushing boards through on the slider, and I don't know if like one of the kids smacked it with something or what, because I didn't used to have this problem.
Do you have to bend it?
Well, I tried like while I was in there, I tried kind of bend back a little bit. But so the riving knife that I have is the stupid one that like you connect an overhead blade dust collection guard to, and I hate that one. So I am actually like trying to order the regular riving knife. But for some reason I can't like pull it up on the website to order it. Like I can find it, but I can't order it. So I got to call them. But yeah, it was so frustrating. But finally, I think I have it. Like I think I got it now because everything was good. Dude, I was doing 5-cut methods today.
Yeah.
I did it once because I was like, what's going on? Dialed it in, good to go, made some cuts. I was like, nope, it's doing the same thing again. And that's where I was like, okay, I think my riving knife is the problem because it's basically like pulling my board away from the fence. And so then I fixed that and I like got rid of the toe out. So everything's like perfectly parallel now. And I was doing 5-cut method. I got 5-cut method on like a 700 millimeter long strip to be within 0.03 millimeters from one end to the other. So I'm like, okay, perfect. Right. Like now I think I'm good, but it was so frustrating to me. And it's all because I decided, well, I'm going to try to get this thing really tuned up. And then you mess up one thing and it leads to another problem. And then you try to fix that other problem and it negates the first thing that you did. Right. Because there's so many moving pieces there.
Yeah. I can relate this to something that I can swear on my own grave that I can get perfect 90-degree cuts every daggone time I use it. But when I first came to work for Festool, I started using the multifunction table. Okay. And I knew I had to teach this. And there was one Saturday I'll never forget. And you reminded me of this, Jason. I would cut it. It would be perfect. I was like, daggone it. So I started doing some repeater cuts and all of a sudden it was out of square. What am I doing wrong? And I got really frustrated to the point where I was like, I'm out of here. Locked up everything. Came back again. Fresh eyes Sunday morning. Okay. And here's the beauty of this. I was making mistakes, but I was journaling them because I knew that's what other people would do over the years. And I became so proficient at setting that up. I could set up an MFT with blindfolded for accuracy. Okay. But I had to find the process of doing it. And I had to make a boatload of mistakes because I guess what? I'm human and I know that other people are going to make these mistakes. So I wrote down all the possibilities. It's like I wrote down all the possibilities when people get swirl marks with the Festool system, you know, and I have a certain drill down so I can ask the questions. Are you doing this, 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 and this? And I think, and I teach the multifunction table every single time. I call it my 3-knob theory because when you are not tightening up the 3 knobs, one on front, one on the back, and then one on the angle unit, you will never get an accurate cut, no matter how many times you set it up. And guess what? That's what I was doing. So there's sometimes you and I hate it when people go, oh, you tweak this, you tweak that, and you're always tweaking it. No, you're learning the process of tweaking something so you can do it in your sleep or blindfolded just to verify something. You go, oh, that's out. That may be out.
Right.
People bump into things. Like you said, maybe Leo or maybe Max hit it. So what? You just realign it real quick, and it's just a verification. Things happen in the shop. What I will tell you is I really like what you said. You shouldn't chase perfection.
Especially in woodworking.
Yes.
No, and I typically don't. You know, we've discussed that before, but it's just like I think that there's value in this, and it goes along with what you were just saying. The value is that until you go through this process multiple times, you're not gonna know how to do it and be comfortable with it. The problem is though, so Felder wants me. The whole reason why they asked me to come out there was because they want me to make a video showing how to calibrate after installation the table saw, and they want me to do the same thing with the A341. And initially I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. And I go down there, I get trained up on it. I come back, I start dabbling with it. I go out of, I go on trips. I go to Germany. I come back. I'm messing with it again. With the table saw, I feel fairly confident. But the problem is that I don't want to go I don't want to now throw my table out of whack and utilize a video to do that, because it is a frustrating experience. And it's not just the slider. There's just more things that you have to adjust on the slider. But dialing that stuff in is not it's not fun, right? Oh. I don't find it enjoyable.
But think how many people you will help doing it. Go through the frustration again, and you will save people a boatload of time and frustration.
Well, that's the other thing too. Like I'm starting to think very differently about the videos that I put on my channel, and like doing a video. Like if I made that video, I'd make it for them. I wouldn't even release it on my own channel. Mm-hmm. They could use it for whatever they want, because at the end of the day, like if I'm going to be working with sponsors, that video, you're right, it would help the people that were looking for it. That's a really, really, really small population of people looking for it.
Very niche.
And by doing that video and getting the 3,000 views or the 5,000 views that it might get in 30 days, because it's so specific, that does nothing but hurt me in the long run. So, but I've had a lot of people ask about the A341 too. And that's the one that I'm really nervous about, like, messing around, because I don't have any problems with mine. Like I've never had anything where I'm like, man, this is just out of whack. Like I'm always very happy with the results that I get from that machine. So like, do I really want to risk it? Because that machine, you can get messed up real fast, fast.
Oh yeah.
So, but I'm learning though. Like every time I do something, it's not like I'm not turning this bolt going, okay, what is this going to do? Is it going to go up? Is it going to go down? Like now I know, like, okay, my slider is slightly angled. I need to go to the outside bolt and I need to adjust it up so it comes up and makes everything parallel. And I need to make sure, like, I get those things now. So if somebody that had a machine was like, hey, can you come over and help me dial this thing in? I'd be a lot more comfortable doing that, because I after I've screwed mine up so many times, like now I get, and again, I think that there's a ton of value in that, but it's really irritating when I had something that was like so dialed in and so perfect. And then I decided to be stupid one day and like, let's try to get it even better. And now I'm just chasing to get what I had. You know what I mean?
But I think to what Sedge said, even though that's frustrating and time consuming, that's when you're really learning when that happens.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It really is. It's funny that the closest thing I have to that is my power screens that I install. And the power screens are extremely finicky about being set up the right way. They can go down and be about 2/3 of the way down and they just hang. And you have to figure out why is it doing that? Is it the rails are not sitting correctly to the structure? Is it that the canister is not level? Is it that there's so many things that could happen? And I've been almost done with a job before where I'm like, we're wrapping this thing up. And it seemed like the screen was slowing down. And I made one change and all of a sudden the screen won't go all the way down. It's happened to me so many times, like the first 2 or 3 years. It was so frustrating. I was ready to walk away from them. I'm like, these things are awful. But I finally, in my brain, like Sedge said, I got to the point where blindfolded, I can tell what's going on without it. And sometimes I'm jealous of Cameron that he gets to be what you're making a video about. I get to tell him all these little tips and tricks that I've learned. Like, don't worry about that. That part doesn't matter. All that the screen will tell you. Let it talk to you. You know, I tell him these things that
You're the screen whisperer.
let
The
it talk
screen
to you.
whisperer.
Like, I can watch a screen now and I can tell you when it's going to hang before it does it. Like there's little things, but I'm able to share that with him now. And he's never going to have the level of frustration that I had when I thought, what am I going to do? I can't get this to work right. I don't know what's going on. So it does get easier, but that kind of thing is, it's frustrating and time consuming when you're learning, I think, more than ever.
And when you have to teach something, you have to be the expert,
Yeah.
you know? And that's what I'll tell you what, I can't tell how many Saturdays and Sundays I was at Festival HQ in the training center figuring out something. You know, I had learned something in Germany. They sent me a new tool, you know, and I had to figure it out. By the way, that's what I'm doing tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know, I'm preparing for Festool Live on Friday. I start Tuesdays and I go through something, you know, and I have an outline. And by the way, I love doing that. That's what I do for a living, right?
Yeah. I mean, no matter how well versed you are in anything, like it makes sense. If you're not doing it every day, all day, you like how many times have I used a domino? Like obviously not nearly as much as you guys, because you guys have been doing this a lot longer. But when I need to do the domino connectors, if you don't think that I'm not going back and like watching a video that I did or watching a video that you did just to make sure that I remember exactly how to, because again, it's a perishable skill. If you're not doing it every day,
Mm-hmm.
you have to do it. And I think that that's also one of the things that I've been struggling with the saws, that I'd do these few things and I'd leave, and 3 weeks later I come back and I'm trying to use it. I'm like, oh crap, I got to fix it. It was just so frustrating today. Hopefully tomorrow is better, but
Will be. It will be.
well, I mean, now all the pieces are cut, so it's not, all the big pieces are cut. It's really not that big of a deal, but I still have to cut the backs for all the cabinets. So like that's going to be another test on whether or not I've got it dialed in to the way it should be. But yeah, it was very very frustrating, but I do see the value in it, and that is that I'm getting more proficient each time. But I just want to get it back to how I had it, which was just so enjoyable, like so enjoyable to use. I mean, I got mad today. Like I like kicked the machine off. Like I was so pissed. After like the sixth time, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Because it screwed up my measurements to where I had to cut the pieces slightly smaller, because what was happening, it'd be 680 at the initial part of the cut, and it would be 678 at the bottom. It's like, okay, well, yeah, 2 millimeter difference. Well, that's going to be a big problem when I go to put this thing together, when stuff's not, granted, it's all in an enclosed, little inland inset area. So like no one would ever see. I can bend things however I want. I shouldn't have to do that though. right? I should be able to go up to my tool, cut this stuff, and do it. And again, this is not a fault of Felder or Hammer or anything. This is 100% me because I felt the need to just try to get it a little bit better. And now here I am struggling to just get it back to what it was.
Yeah. I think people sometimes, and I know you need to do this because you're doing the video, but I do regularly hear the accuracy level on woodworking, like people take it to a whole new level.
Oh, yeah.
I there's a guy I know that has a metal fab shop, and he told me once, he's like, I could never do woodworking. I'm like, it's basically the same thing. Like, it's not really, you're building with different sizes. He's like, no, he's like, with welding, he goes, it doesn't have to be, it just has to be kind of close. He's like, we can fill a 1/4 inch gap with a weld. I'd never thought about that before. He's like, it doesn't have to be exact. We make it right. We cut it close and we make it right. I'm like, okay, I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
But it'd be nice if we had the ability with wood to just like bridge it with like tight bond weld, just we can't do that. And he was like, you can hide it in a weld. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
Huh.
Hide
I'll
it with
tell
a
you
big
what.
weld and grind it down.
You
Yeah.
can chase perfection with the shape of origin.
Oh, I'm sure.
Whoo, man. But so today, you want to talk about frustration. I was doing a couple of things. Then I got distracted. I was taken away. And I was like, hey, you know what? That might be it for the day. And then all of a sudden I said, well, what time is it? It's like 12 o'clock. Boy, I put some nice time in. And I said, okay, what else am I going to do until we start recording the green suitors? So I went, to heck with that. I'm getting back in the shop. And time just flew. But I said, and then I get a little frustrated on something else. I go, oh, come on. And then all of a sudden I went, what else am I going to do? And sometimes you just got to walk away. And I've said this 100 times tonight, but that is what you have to do so you don't get really cranky in that shop. Because when you get cranky in the shop and really frustrated, accidents can happen. You forget something, you didn't set depth right, or you know what's really nice about that router? It tells you which way to go.
Yeah, that's good for a
Yeah.
beginner.
It's such a great router.
And this way, you know what? That reminded me, we were just talking about on CNC. I've been down that route before, what
Yes.
Jason's talking about. And I remember a specific one. I was making MFT tops for myself in 1-inch MDF. And I was trying to cut those dog holes the exact right size with it was a 1/4 inch bit. But the problem is that you put in the system how wide the 1/4 inch bit is, and you put that, calibrate it, put that in there. So the system's trying to do the right size hole based on the size of the bit you told it was. And you're trying to put that flute. And it's doing its own radius on top of that, plus what you told it. But the thing is, if you're off even by like just a tiny bit, it's going to double that error when it does the radius around there. And I fooled with it for so long, it was just ridiculous. And finally, I ordered a dedicated bit, just a plunge bit, and caused a fire the first time I used it. It caught a fire. It caught on fire. But it was a dedicated plunge bit that went down, and I went all the way down in the 1 inch. And then I learned I had to do it did 3 plunges just to make it not catch on fire. Once I figured that out, huge improvement, huge improvement. But I struggle with what I skipped over was I could not figure out why, with the accuracy of my CNC, why were the holes off? And I finally figured it out. It was where it just goes by what you say in the tool library. It knows your 1/4 inch bit is actually maybe slightly less or more than a 1/4 inch. That has to be right. Or the CNC is like, I'm only doing what you told me the size of the bit was. That was the problem that I spent hours trying to figure out. Why is it not doing it? So that was a learning curve for me. Now I would not struggle with that at all. It would be like a 30-second thing. Oh, I know what the problem is. And when I don't have a dedicated bit now, I'll go into the tool library and lie to it. I'll lie to it on the size of what the bit is just to fix a problem. If it's a one-time project, if it's off, I just do that and it fixes it. It kind of confuses the CNC a little bit.
How often do you use your CNC?
I would say, like on a significant thing, maybe once every 2 or 3 months on a significant project. I use it for like template work and things like that pretty regularly, but like for actually using it for a project, sometimes I think I'm going to use it for it. And I think on the project, and then it ends up being worth making a template and using a router instead of picking up like a huge conference table and taking it over there. It's just easier. And that's where the shaper comes in also. I see more and more every time we're on a build off, I see uses for the shaper.
Oh yeah.
7 or 8 years ago, I saw it. I was like, I don't need that. I've got a CNC. There's they're totally different. They're
Is is Cameron CNC literate as you?
Yes. He's not as CNC literate as he is on a 3D printer because it's
Yeah.
such a dangerous piece of equipment. He wasn't able to use it. When I got it, he was like 7. And of course, he wasn't able because it's like an industrial one. I can't let him just play around with it. But he understands all the concepts on 3D printing. Software, the Vectric software is probably his least familiar. He needs to be more familiar with that. But it's same concepts as the 3D printer or the laser. It's all the same thing, just different software. And the interesting thing about CNC is you have to understand the router that Jason got him. You have to understand those principles to be able to operate a wood CNC because the same principles apply as if you were doing it by hand. You can't just take a 1-inch round over bit and just go to town. I want to do that round over bit. I want it to cut the wood out and round over at the same time. You can't do that, so you have to understand the manual process first.
Right.
I think that's the closest equivalent that I found myself in before. That's so frustrating when you just can't get it. And then Sedge nailed it. That's when mistakes happen too. That's when I'm like, this time I'm not going to fasten it with double stick tape. I'm just going to trust the back table. Sure, it's it shoots off and you break the bit on top of it and you're like, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done.
Well,
So
I feel like when you're forced in a position where you have to, I was thinking about this today. I was like, you know what? What if I just took this thing back down to what it was when I got it delivered? And not because I feel like I need to do that now, but I'm like, if I really want to understand everything about this machine, knowing what I know now, after already assembling it once, why not take the whole damn thing apart
you know
and
what?
do it again?
I can nail on the head what you just said. When I first started, this was 12 years ago when I first started getting into power screens. And one of the distributors, she had a screen she could not figure out. And she called the other guy from the other town who's supposed to be this amazing screen install guy. He fixed it in one day. And I said, what did you do to fix it? He's like, well, first thing I did is I didn't try to figure out what they did wrong. I took the screen completely apart and I reinstalled it. That's what he said. And I was like thinking, that actually makes a lot of sense. Because there were people, all of her employees were coming in, tinkering around with it, trying to adjust this rail, trying to adjust this rail, trying to adjust this, trying to shim this. He took it back apart again and started from what he knew, from ground zero. And sometimes that's the fastest way to do it, because there could be one thing that's just causing this, that it's a reset.
Yeah. And you go through the entire process again. So I actually, now that I just mentioned that, now I don't know why, but I'm kind of feeling like once I get this built-in done, I actually might take like a day or two and just do that.
Break it
Because
down.
something I actually want to do is I want to raise that table saw up a little bit. When I was in Germany, I went to this guy, Fabian's Fab in the Basement is his name. I visited him the last 2 years that I went to Germany. Super great dude. He has the same saw, but when I went in there, I was like, why is your saw so tall? And I looked down and he had like these 4x4 blocks basically that he put the saw on. And I was like, man, that's really smart. Like, I actually think I might do that in my shop because it does sit a little bit low. So I'm thinking about maybe getting it in place, doing that, and then just taking the fence off, taking the extension table off, and just starting over.
Yep.
Just starting from square one, level everything, go through the entire process again. And what I think that would do, even if my table saw is good to go now, it would make me more of a expert on that particular tool, to where if somebody ever asked me a question, and I'll never forget this. I bought a rigid R4512. It's the popular rigid table saw, their cabinet saw that most beginners usually will buy. I bought one and I put it together. And then a buddy of mine bought one and I went and helped him put it together. And then another buddy of mine bought one and I went and helped him put it together. And the funny thing was that what I remember so vividly from that experience, I think I did 4 total. was that when I did mine, it was very frustrating, slow,
Mm-hmm.
frustrating. When I did my buddies, a little bit faster, a little bit better results. When I did the third one, very fast. When I did the last one, it was like I almost didn't even need the instructions.
Yeah, that's how many Mr. Cools, including mine, have you installed?
Four, three or four.
See? See?
Yeah.
You didn't even open up the instructions. You said, yeah, this is how we're gonna do it.
Yeah. Give me another beer.
Yep. Hand me that drill. But
Although we probably drank too many beers because I do remember we're like, why is this not doing heat or cool? And then I was like, well, we probably need to open up the lines to get the the stuff in it.
It's like, why is
hey
this beer?
now.
He's like, why is this beer frozen and it's summer?
Yeah.
Hey
It's
now.
so weird.
I turned it on today just to have some AC in there. Oh my God, is that nice?
It probably led to
Yeah.
why you were there all day.
Yeah, Ronnie, you're right. It did. I didn't gain any fatigue from the heat.
Yeah.
Somebody commented on my post yesterday on Patreon. The one that I was telling you guys, I asked, is it just me or does anybody else have this problem? Um, and one of the guys was talking about like just wants to get back out in the shop, but it's been real warm lately. And I was like, golly, man, like I can't even imagine now because I was in a shop a couple shops that did not have climate controlled stuff, and I was in Georgia and it was hot, and I was like, am I going to go out there today? I just I am such an advocate for like if before even buying another tool, like invest, even just get the Mr. Cool. It's like a less expensive option. It's easy to install, but holy cow, will it totally change the way that you feel about your space.
And Mr. Cool and American Green Lights get good lighting. The two investments that have changed my shop the most.
Yeah.
Because I am not fighting to see a line.
Yeah.
A measurement, a tape, a rule, anything. It's perfect. And yeah, it's a good for shooting video. Yes. But that to me it's like today I didn't struggle at all reading a tape or reading the steel rule that I use. But also when I'm at work, the lighting is horrific because I'm so used to that 5,000 Kelvin.
Mm-hmm.
It is perfect LED.
So since you brought that up, I have actually found myself sometimes now, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just because I've experienced those lights for long enough now. Sometimes I feel like it's a little harsh. Like it's so bright. And what I mean by that, like I love the American Green Lights. You're 100% right. The color is fantastic in video. It's awesome. I can see everything that I'm doing. However, when I go visit people like um, Eric Gorgeous in his cool little like cabin shop that he has that's got like these beautiful warm tones on the wall, and he doesn't have like these incredibly bright overpowering lights. It's like a whole different feel. You know what I mean? Like if I did not shoot YouTube videos, I will always have American Green Lights if I'm shooting YouTube videos, 100%, because they're perfect for it, right? But if I was like not doing that anymore, I do think I would definitely opt for some natural light to be coming in.
Mm-hmm.
And I would definitely probably go with a slightly less harsh Kelvin, only because I wouldn't be doing video.
Mm-hmm.
But it's almost a necessity.
I fall on all sides. I love the natural light. And when I built like what was I consider my dream shop, it was all about natural light. And I have, huge windows all the way on one side, and it's great. And I like it. And
But then you started filming.
I regularly work with my overhead lights off. But yeah, when you start filming, you can't have that.
No.
You can't and so those shutters have been a solution for us because we have that harsh afternoon sun that light, and we can shut those and block that off so we can get the best of both worlds. But Yeah, first person I heard about talk about that was Mark, the Wood Whisperer. I heard him. I remember he was like building his dream shop in Arizona, and I was like, he needs windows. What's he doing? What's he doing? He's like, I can't do windows because of filming. And I was like, what's he talking about? I can do windows. I totally see what he's talking about. You just can't control the environment.
I started
I
my
just
YouTube channel in the shop in Georgia
yeah.
with all the windows on it, which I thought was really cool until I started filming, and I'm like, wow, this sucks.
Yeah.
I hate struggling to read a measurement. And I have, so wherever I go, yeah, natural light, I was like, I can't read a tape. Even outside sometimes, it's like really tough. But boy, in the shop, no struggle whatsoever.
No.
Just
Yeah, I
freaking
think
love it.
you know what? I say this on your birthday, but I think that is an age thing because I think Kelly is there right now. She needs to use
Wow,
her.
Ronnie.
Well, I'm saying I'm far, my blurry is far away, hers is close. And she's 6 months younger than me, but she has to get her iPhone flashlight out all the time now in a restaurant. I don't yet, but I'm right there. But I do think as you get older, you need more light to be able to see
Oh,
clearly for sure.
absolutely.
And
But
so I think
sometimes,
it become more, you know,
sometimes it's not okay. Yes, it's age. I agree.
mhm.
Yeah, gone it. When I was in my 40s and I was in a shop and late 30s and I couldn't read a tape because the lighting sucked.
Yeah.
It would drive me bonkers.
It makes you tired too. It can make you have a headache.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's the Festool shop is a good natural light example of like the as the day changes, the light changes a lot, like from morning till that you have to kind of almost gauge your eyes to know what time of the day it is.
Oh, yeah. And what happens is because the Chris comes in and he wants to film something, he shuts the Venetian blinds. And oh my God, those fluorescents that they have in there, oh,
Absolutely.
they
They're
shine up and they
on
suck.
acoustical tiles, so they're losing a lot of their light by upshining them,
Yeah, it's
nice. Yeah.
Well,
it's
it's
just
with the natural light coming in it. One day it might be great,
Right.
oh
and then the next day it's cloudy and it's like not the same, and it looks like crap, and you got to change the settings on your camera. It's awful.
Yeah, it
yeah.
is. That makes it a lot harder for sure. For a controlled environment, you definitely want the overhead, no natural light. But like you said, for the aesthetic factor of just being able to work in a cool environment, I love the natural light. Which for you all, it's opening up your big doors and you get all the natural light, which is nice.
Well, that's the funny thing is sometimes I'll open up my garage door, like when the weather's really nice, and then I'll need to film something,
Have
and
to
the
shut it.
angle that I want to do, then I have to shut it
Yeah.
because it's totally changing the way that my camera looks. It's so
Right.
frustrating.
So I gotta mention something. This is way off topic. Hey, Ronnie, you've been to the house. Jason, you've been to the house. You know my roof, right? I'm getting it done.
Mhm.
Next door, it's so much smaller, right? Okay, where those wacka doodles live. Those guys, that crew showed up at 6 o'clock this morning. They were running an angle grinder at 6:15, sharpening their tools. Okay, but guess what? It's almost 7. They've worked 13 hours in the sun, in long sleeve and long pants.
They're still out
And
there.
it's hot. It's in the 80s.
And they'll be done.
And they're done. But
Mhm.
my goodness, are they hard work? And that's a job I don't want.
No.
Yep.
And I got almost twice as much square for my roof than that one.
They did ours in one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're
they'll
shooting.
probably
It's
do yours.
impressive watching him.
Yes, there was like 20 guys on the roof at the same time.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
it,
It's I was quite impressed.
yes.
Yeah. So I had to shoot a couple videos because some of the chafe went on my property, and it's my insurance because my wackadoodle neighbors, if some of the chafe goes on anything on their property, I know they're going to report me to the HOA. They're such asses. It's ridiculous. Marianne goes, "You filming that?" I go, "Hell yeah, man. It's my insurance for the HOA."
Ridiculous.
Hey, something fun to watch tomorrow. They'll have more than one cooler. And after 5 or 6 o'clock, the coolers change.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
If you watch, they changed after 5 or 6 o'clock. They're
Oh
on
yeah.
like time after that. Even though they work sometimes 3 or 4 hours after that, the
Yeah.
cooler change with different product.
You know what I always get a kick out of is the lunch vehicle comes up. You ever see the lunch vehicle? And
Yeah.
they make the rounds. Mama gets out of the
Yep.
passenger side and
Yep.
they go around and they bring everybody to the back and they feed them.
That's what
It's
happened on our
it's really cool.
Yeah,
And you know
everybody-
they were all lounging on my property, you know,
Mhm.
because I have that big tree in front. I don't care.
Yeah, they stay there all day. Food's brought too. It's impressive. I'll never forget. I think I've told it on there before. I remember the day they were showing up mine. This guy got out of the truck, and I was like, "How many days you think it's going to take?" He's like, "1 day," and I was like, "He goes, I have friends. I have friends that are coming." And it was like one truck, another truck, a big Ford Excursion. I was like, just started getting out, getting out. And I was like, wow, it was like an army, and they
Yeah.
all knew their job. Everybody knew what they were doing. It was cool to watch.
I
It
wish I
actually
could
is.
find a crew like that to build me a patio cover.
Have you been in contact with anyone about that?
Yes, but we'll have to save that for the next episode to talk about my continuing struggles with the patio saga. I did want to ask real quick. Why I don't want to do a software update. What's going on?
Mine just said the same thing. I just got
Mine
it.
too.
Yeah. So next Friday the 31st, bourbon with the boys, gentlemen.
31st.
You guys good with that?
Let me check. Next Friday.
Next Friday, the 31st of May.
31st of May already.
Absolutely. The Friday after Memorial Day.
Yep.
Bourbon with the boys.
All right, everybody.
Yep.
You heard it first. I'll be out of town the following week. And then yeah, Memorial Day this weekend, people might be out of town and stuff. So we figured 31st, bourbon with the boys. If you're a patron, for those of you that are not a patron, if you are an apprentice or higher, we do monthly calls called Bourbon with the Boys. And every quarter, for those that are not an apprentice or higher, we do beers with the boys, which is open to all Patreon levels. And speaking of Patreon, this is about my own Patreon. Sorry, shameless plug here. But I selected my first winner for the shop visit.
Wicked cool.
Yeah, it's Ann John, who is also a patron of ours at the journeyman level.
Wow.
So I will be going
You're
to visit
going to
him.
Texas.
I was trying to go in end of June, but they were getting ready to have another child. So July would be better. So I'm going at the end of July. I'll be going out to visit.
That'll be a good reflection point for you after you do that. You'll have some good insight for us for when we do ours.
Yep.
That'll be good. That'll be good.
Yeah, I think it's going to be cool. We spoke about it the other day. He was super excited. Again, congratulations, Anjon. I'm only bringing it up because he's a patron of the podcast as well. But I think that'll be really, really cool. We don't know exactly what we're going to be doing yet. But with that, the latest video, one of the other things that I didn't mention is that I released a video when I got back from Germany, and it was about shop layout and like tips for a better, more efficient layout and all that stuff. Video is doing awful, unfortunately.
So is mine.
Probably because I was excited about it, and of course it's bombing. However, I did open up the opportunity for people to get help from me doing their shop layout stuff, and I actually have a couple of people lined up because of that YouTube video.
Cool.
So that's pretty cool. Which I can only do a couple people per month, so I'm not trying to get a bunch of people.
I'm gonna reach out to Amazon and ask him to say his activity he wants to do is set up a table saw. Like
set up a K3 slider.
What were you gonna say, Sedge?
Hey, oh wow. I don't know. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So just to let you know, I just released the utility blade video on Sedge Tool, and I'm just telling you because there's a couple really good Easter eggs in there.
Oh, I'll have to check it out.
Well, now I know what I'm gonna have to watch.
You don't? Yeah, it's funny. Wow, my audio's all cranky right now. Sorry.
No, it sounded fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, guys, back to normal life. I've got to go upstairs and put the boy to bed.
Put the boy to bed.
Put the boy to bed.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening to episode 139 of Green Suiters Podcast with the three of us all back together finally. And my upcoming travel will not affect our podcast episodes.
Scared.
I got a lot of travel coming up. A lot. From now
Nice.
until through September.
Nice. I do as well.
Yeah. It's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I love it. I love it.
Friction
All right,
makes
boys.
diamonds, baby.
Yep.
Okay,
Good,
bye-bye.
Good talk.
Bye-bye.
Hope all you guys have a great
Bye-bye.
night.
Bye-bye.
Can't wait to see you next time.
Bye-bye.